Hey guys! Today I wanted to talk about my own experience of what it was like to learn art as an adult, particularly in the beginning. I never went to art school, but I've been taking online art classes for several years now, with the goal to get to a professional skill level eventually, and I really enjoy the journey of learning art. But I remember in the beginning, there were a few mental hurdles that got in the way of that enjoyment. And I just wanted to share some thoughts about that in case anyone else might be struggling with the same feelings. So, one of the struggles I had was whenever I drew something I didn't like, I would beat myself up over it. Let's say I would draw something in my sketchbook that didn't look right to me. Do you ever just draw an arrow pointing to your drawing and write a little note like, "This is so bad"? And I was constantly fighting this cringe feeling and hated everything I drew, which was actually a huge obstacle to even drawing because now drawing was a liability to feeling this way and feeling like I suck, I'll never get good, or I need to hide my sketchbook in case anyone ever sees this. And even though drawing was a hobby that I loved as a kid, this is how I constantly felt about my own drawings. And the turning point for me was actually when someone recommended me a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And to be honest, I didn't even read the whole thing, but the main message in the first part of the book made me realize something really significant about myself. So, to give a little context about the book, it talks about two different types of mindsets: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is the belief that abilities are fixed, so you're either born smart and talented at something or you're not. And the growth mindset is believing that abilities can be developed through effort. In the book, there was a puzzle experiment with kids where they were offered a choice to redo an easy puzzle or to try a harder one. And stick with me here, I promise this is super relevant to my struggles with art. The kids with the fixed mindset stuck with the easy puzzle, and the kids with the growth mindset chose to do the harder one. Because the kids with the fixed mindset wanted to make sure that they succeeded. But for the kids with the growth mindset, it was more about stretching themselves and becoming smarter. And they enjoyed taking on the challenges while the fixed mindset kids didn't enjoy them and actively avoided them. And these two mindsets carry into everything you do. So for adults, these fixed mindsets might look like turning down opportunities or avoiding things because of fear of failure or not being good at something. Alternatively, someone with a growth mindset might throw themselves into something new and have the belief that everyone can become great at something with effort and learning. And a lot of things in childhood can prime someone to have a fixed mindset. It's actually very common, like being told you're smart or you're talented at something. It sounds quite innocent, but can result in having a fixed mindset. And I realized I had such a fixed mindset when it came to art. I was so focused on whether I had talent or not to pursue art. I was afraid to actually just draw and confront a blank page. And drawing felt like a performance instead of a practice. I wanted to get good at art, but it felt so uncomfortable to be bad at it and just sit in that feeling of failure. I was clinging on to the idea of talent and potential when instead I needed to cling on to the hope that if I focused on improving and getting better, I would, and that every bad drawing I did was actually a step in the direction of improvement. What I love about the book is that it really emphasizes that anyone can embrace a growth mindset. And I wanted that for myself because it's so draining to just be thinking about how bad you are all the time. Instead, I wanted to feel good about myself for drawing more, so I decided that instead of being ashamed of the bad drawings, I would be proud of myself that I had the courage to put pencil to paper and just focus solely on improving the next drawing. And this mindset also gave me the courage I needed to enroll in classes that gave instructor feedback, because for the longest time I felt like I wasn't good enough to take these classes because I didn't want to to suck at doing the homework. But homework shouldn't be a performance. It's a chance to learn. And now I love taking these classes because the best feeling ever is feeling yourself improve. Alright, so the next mental hurdle I had in the beginning of learning art was beating myself up for not drawing enough and not having enough fun while drawing. So let's call this one the passion trap. I watched videos of successful artists who talked about how they got good, and it looked like they were just drawing for hours every single day, and I thought they were grinding boxes and anatomy and that they just carried their sketchbook with them wherever they went and just drawing non-stop. And don't get me wrong, the only way to get good at something is to sink time and effort into it. But to be completely honest, in the beginning, seeing this was a bit discouraging to me because when I tried to force myself to draw for a few hours, I couldn't. I thought this meant that I didn't have the passion and love for art that others did, because if I did, why wouldn't I be drawing for hours on end? At least that's what it looked like these masters were doing. Maybe I just don't have what it takes, or maybe my passion isn't genuine. And I've even heard industry leaders say, if you don't love drawing, you're not going to make it. Which, I get it, but as a beginner trying to learn how to draw, I have such a bone to pick with that because it's so discouraging to hear. I used to hate figure drawing. Guess what? I love figure drawing now. And if I could go back, I would tell myself drawing is so hard. Drawing for a long time is even harder. In the beginning, I couldn't even hold my pencil upright without shaking or feeling tired after a while. I didn't have the dexterity or technique or hand-eye coordination to make the line that I wanted to make, let alone draw with accuracy or judge proportions and values. Drawing is both a physical and hugely mental process, but in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing with either. I still struggle with these things and I'm still learning, but in the beginning, it's like trying to enjoy playing chess without knowing the rules or being able to move the pieces. It doesn't mean you're not destined to be a chess player or that you lack passion. My coach Diego has this wonderful analogy of an alien being dropped down in the middle of a basketball game that makes the same point. But I would feel so guilty that I wasn't grinding away for hours at drawing and that it wasn't always fun. And that was kind of the inspiration for this video. If you're in your first year of learning art and you're not enjoying it all the time, trust me, it's to be expected, and it doesn't mean you lack passion. Do not start doubting or gatekeeping yourself, just keep going, because in my experience, drawing gets more fun the more you do it and the more you learn how to communicate the things that you want to communicate. But it takes time to learn the rules of that communication and also build up the habit of drawing. It's something I'm still in the process of, building up that love for drawing and that habit for consistency. I'm not someone who draws every day, but I don't think that beating myself up over it is going to help. I also want to say that it's so important to ultimately find that enjoyment and purpose in your studies. And at least in my own experience, I think a lot of that does come down to the growth mindset that I mentioned earlier, because it turns challenges into rewards. And sometimes just not taking drawing so seriously helps to increase that enjoyment factor as well. The last thing I'll mention about learning art is community. I remember how lonely I felt in my journey because I didn't know anyone that was trying to learn art. It felt like me against the world, and I was always doubting myself. Like, I didn't even want to tell anyone I was learning art, and I didn't even dare think of myself as an artist. And it felt like the only way to get good at art and catch up was just to lock myself away in my room and grind and then emerge as the ultimate artist. I spent my fair share of time copying books alone in my room, which I guess there's something charming about that time that you spend alone. But I really feel like my art education came alive when I sought out the right communities. And a lot of these naturally came from taking online feedback classes where I met other people who had similar backgrounds to me, who majored in something completely unrelated to art. You'll be surprised, it's a lot of people of all ages who are trying to learn art. Starting this YouTube channel helped for sure. I love reading comments and other people's stories. And joining the new Masters Academy community was a huge benefit to me. That's when I felt true consistency in my art practice, because they have a standardized structured curriculum that others are also working through. So it's kind of like an art school because everyone's going through the same classes together. And it's such a supportive community where instructors and coaches are actively involved. And there's always stuff going on, like events and contests and showcases. It's really helped me be involved in art every single day, even if I'm not drawing every day. It's kept that flame alive for me and helped me to create relationships with other artists. And if you have life drawing sessions near you, I've heard that's also an amazing way to meet people. I went to one nearby and it was an awesome experience, but the hours just didn't work with my schedule. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful or relatable. Wherever you are in your unique journey, if you're experiencing difficulties, seek feedback. Keep going, keep learning, and keep creating because it is so worth it.